بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of God Almighty.
فخامة السيدة
Your
أرسولا
Excellency,
فوندرلاين
Mrs. Ursula
رئيسة
von der
المفوضية
Leyen, the
الأوروبية،
President of the European Commission.
فخامة السيد ألكسندر ديكرو رئيس وزراء مملكة بلجيكا رئيس الدورة الحالية للاتحاد الأوروبي، فخامة السيد نيكوس خريستو دوليدس رئيس جمهورية قبرص، فخامة السيد كيرياكوس ميتسوتاكيس رئيس وزراء الجمهورية اليونانية، فخامة السيد كارل نيهايمر مستشار النمسا، فخامة السيدة جورجيا ميلوني رئيسة وزراء الجمهورية الإيطالية، السيدات والسادة، اسمحوا لي في البداية أن أرحب بكم ضيوفا أعزاء على مصر، حيث تأتي زيارتكم للقاهرة اليوم وسط زخم مكثف تشهده العلاقات المصرية الأوروبية سواء مع مؤسسات الاتحاد الأوروبي أو دوله الأعضاء. لقد مثلت زيارتكم اليوم مرحلة شديدة الأهمية في العلاقات بين مصر والاتحاد الأوروبي، إذ نجحنا معا في تحقيق نقلة نوعية في شراكتنا، حيث قمت منذ قليل بالتوقيع مع السيدة أرسولا فوندرلاين رئيسة المفوضية الأوروبية على وثيقة إعلان سياسي مشترك لإطلاق مسار ترفيع العلاقات بين مصر والاتحاد الأوروبي إلى مستوى الشراكة الاستراتيجية الشاملة، بهدف الارتقاء بمستوى التعاون من أجل تحقيق المصالح المشتركة. السادات والسادة، لقد اقترن مسار ترفيع العلاقات بين مصر والاتحاد الأوروبي بحزمة مالية لدعم الاقتصاد المصري، وتتكون هذه الحزمة التي تبلغ حوالي 7.4 مليار يورو من 3 مكونات رئيسية تتمثل في التمويل الميسر وضمانات الاستثمار والدعم الفني لتنفيذ مشروعات التعاون الثنائي. اتفقنا أيضا مع السيدة رئيسة المفوضية الأوروبية على عقد مؤتمر للاستثمار بين مصر والاتحاد الأوروبي خلال النصف الثاني من العام الجاري للتعريف بالفرص والإمكانيات الاستثمارية في مصر، وبما يسهم في تعزيز انخراط الشركات الأوروبية في السوق المصرية. كما شهدت مباحثاتنا اليوم تركيزا خاصا على تعزيز التعاون في مجال الطاقة، سواء فيما يتعلق بمجال الغاز الطبيعي أو الربط الكهربائي، حيث اتفقنا على التعاون في مجال إنتاج الهيدروجين الأخضر كمصدر للطاقة النظيفة، وأكدنا مواصلة التعاون القائم في إطار منتدى غاز الشرق المتوسط لما يساهم به في تحقيق أمن الطاقة على المستويين الإقليمي والدولي. السيدات والسادة، قد تناولت المباحثات أهمية الاستمرار في مواجهة التحديات المشتركة، وفي مقدمتها الهجرة غير الشرعية، حيث أكدنا التزامنا بمكافحة هذه الظاهرة في إطار التعاون القائم مع تضمين البعد التنموي في معالجتها، إضافة إلى تعزيز مسارات الهجرة النظامية. واتفقنا على ضرورة دعم جهود مصر التي نجحت في وقف تدفقات الهجرة غير الشرعية من السواحل المصرية منذ عام 2016، فضلا عن استضافة 9 ملايين أجنبي في مصر يتمتعون بالخدمات الاجتماعية والصحية وسط المواطنين المصريين. الحضور الكريم، لقد حازت الملفات الإقليمية والدولية ذات الاهتمام المشترك باهتمام كبير في محادثتنا اليوم، وعلى رأسها القضية الفلسطينية والحرب في غزة، حيث أكدت حتمية الوقف الفوري لإطلاق النار وإنهاء إسرائيل لأعمالها العدائية، ودعوت في هذا الإطار القادة الأوروبيين لبذل المزيد من الجهد لوقف إطلاق النار بشكل فوري وغير مشروط، فضلا عن زيادة المساعدات الإنسانية إلى قطاع غزة لتخفيف حدة الكارثة الإنسانية التي يعيشها الفلسطينيون. اتفقنا أيضا والقادة الأوروبيين على رفض شن إسرائيل عملية عسكرية في رفح، بما سيضاعف من الكارثة الإنسانية التي يعاني منها المدنيين بالقطاع، فضلا عن آثار تلك العملية على تصفية القضية الفلسطينية، وهو ما ترفضه مصر جملة وتفصيلا. وتؤكد مصر مجددا رفضها الكامل لأي محاولات من قبل إسرائيل لتهجير الشعب الفلسطيني قسريا من الأرضية المحتلة منذ عام 67 بما فيها قطاع غزة والضفة الغربية والقدس الشرقية. قد استعرضت باستفاضة الجهود المصرية الرامية لحل الأزمة مع تأكيد أهمية التعامل مع القضية الفلسطينية بمنظور شامل ومتكامل يضمن حقوق الفلسطينيين بإقامة دولتهم المستقلة على حدود عام 1967 وعاصمتها القدس الشرقية. أود أن أختتم كلمتي بتأكيد ضرورة توحيد رسالتنا للمجتمع الدولي لإبراز أن معاناة الشعب الفلسطيني في كامل الأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة على مدار العقود الماضية لن تتوقف سوى بالاعتراف بدولة فلسطين وإنحاء العضوية الكاملة للأمم المتحدة والعمل على تنفيذ حل الدولتين وفقا للمرجعيات الدولية وأن تسويف حل تلك القضية يعرض المنطقة والعالم العربي لعدم السيدات والسادة أرحب بكم مجددا ضيوفا على مصر وأشكركم على مباحثاتنا المثمرة اليوم وأتطلع إلى مواصلة الحوار البناء والتنسيق المستمر بيننا وشكرا جزيلا واسمحوا لي أن أدعو فخامة السيدة رئيسة المفوضية الأوروبية للقاء كلمتها.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for your warm welcome and your hospitality. I'm very glad to be back in Cairo. The partnership between the European Union and Egypt is of critical importance. The presence of 6 European leaders today shows how deeply we value our relationship. We share strategic interests in stability and prosperity. And given your political and economic weight, as well as your strategic location in a very troubled neighborhood, the importance of our relations will only increase over time. Today's visit and strong representation by European leaders reflects the strength of our bilateral ties. And today marks a historic milestone. With the signature of our joint declaration for a strategic and comprehensive partnership. It is a partnership based on 6 main pillars, 6 areas of mutual interest for Europe and Egypt. And I'm pleased to announce that this will be supported by a new financial and investment package of 7.4 billion euros for the coming 4 years. This package has 6 pillars. The first one is that we will intensify our political dialogue. And together we will also work on our commitment to promote democracy and human rights. And to do this, we will hold a leaders' summit once every 2 years that comes on top of our annual Association Council. The second pillar is economic stability. We will support financially your reform efforts together with international partners. The third pillar is on investment and trade. We have already our economic and investment plan in place, but we can do much more. Be it renewable energy, be it digitalization or connectivity, be it the agriculture sector or the water management, just to name a few topics. And to this end, we will support the EU-Egypt Investment Conference in Cairo later this year. And in this context, let me say a few words on energy investments. We are developing the Greggy Electric Interconnector project together. This connects Egypt to Greece and increases, of course, the energy security in Europe. Egypt has all the resources to become a renewables hub, in particular when it comes to renewable hydrogen. You are keen to attract foreign investments, and we have investors interested in Egypt, and we have a memorandum of understanding on this. So let us press ahead with the work in this area, and let's get very concrete. The fourth pillar is migration and mobility. We already have a very good cooperation, and this is needed more than ever. This is why we will invest at least 200 million euros from today's package to make our cooperation even more effective. We will carry on with our work to facilitate legal migration, for example, the talent partnerships. And in parallel, we will continue to count on Egypt's full dedication to control illegal migration, from border management to anti-smuggling and return. The fifth pillar is on security and law enforcement. We have an established cooperation in counterterrorism, and we will reinforce it. The last pillar is in many ways the most important one. It is about people, it is about their skills, and it is about research. Exchanges of students under the Erasmus Plus program are already thriving. Egypt can now negotiate its accession to other EU programs, for example, Creative Europe or Horizon Europe, and all this will deepen the bonds between our people on both sides of the Mediterranean. Of course, these discussions are taking place in a time of deep crisis. We are all extremely concerned about the war in Gaza and the unfolding catastrophic humanitarian situation. Gaza is facing famine, and we cannot accept this. It is critical to achieve an agreement on a ceasefire rapidly now that frees the hostages and allows more humanitarian aid to reach Gaza. I commend you for your personal efforts, Mr. President, to broker such a ceasefire. And we are also very concerned about the risks a full-scale offensive in Rafah would have on the vulnerable civilian population. This needs to be avoided at all costs. I would also like to thank Egypt for its extraordinary efforts to ensure that humanitarian supplies can reach Gaza. The European Union is doing everything in its power to provide it much-needed assistance. We know that today Gaza needs 500 trucks per day, or the equivalent by land, by air, or by sea. And this year alone, the European Union will provide 275 million euros in assistance to Palestinians. We have delivered over 1,800 tons of aid, including medical equipment to Egypt, and we are making sure this aid can reach Gaza through all possible routes, and this includes also our newly opened maritime corridor in Cyprus. Mr. President, current events confirm once again the vital role that Egypt plays in the stability and security of the region. And these challenging times have shown the value and the strength of our bilateral cooperation and relationship. It is therefore only natural for us to intensify our partnership. We have a mutual interest to do so. So thank you very much. Again, Mr. President, I'm looking forward to this new chapter in our relationship.
Thank you. أدعو الآن فخامة رئيس وزراء بلجيكا رئيس الدولة الحالية للاتحاد الأوروبي لإلقاء كلمته، فليتفضل.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for hosting this very important summit between the European Union and Egypt. In the state of the world of today, it is crucial to have partners, and to have partners who cooperate. Today's strategic partnership will make us stronger, and this partnership will deliver. It will deliver on more investment, it will deliver on creation of more jobs, it will deliver on creating more cooperation between Egypt and the European Union, and it will deliver on stemming irregular migration. The strategic partnership is to the benefit of Egypt and of the European Union, especially in these times, times when we have a war on the European continent, when we have a horrendous conflict in Gaza, and when we see the impact, for example, on the trade going through the Red Sea. The reforms that are in this agreement will improve the investment climate. It will strengthen Egypt's economy. It will create business opportunities, which create more opportunities, especially for a young generation. In addition to that, a vibrant civic space, a vibrant democracy will add even more perspective to a young generation. Egypt plays an important role in fighting human trafficking and in fighting the smugglers' network. The EU will assist Egypt in coping with this challenge and working together to fight the root causes of irregular migration. As being said, this meeting was also a meeting where we talked extensively on the situation in Gaza. Egypt has been a partner and will continue to be a partner in trying to establish an immediate ceasefire and an immediate release of the hostages. The current situation in Gaza is unacceptable. Too many civilian lives have been lost. There has been an ICJ provisional ruling. That provisional ruling has demanded on Israel to increase the access for humanitarian aid. What we have seen in practice is the opposite. The access for humanitarian aid has decreased. It is the responsibility to make sure that sufficient humanitarian access is provided. More food, more water, more medicines are urgently needed, and especially in this month of Ramadan, everyone hopes that a ceasefire would be coming in this holy month and it would come into effect. The population of Gaza deserves to live in peace. Dear Mr. President, I would thank you for this partnership. Thank also my colleagues for an important moment in our Belgian presidency to come to this agreement between Egypt and the European Union.
Thank you. أدعو الآن فخامة رئيس قبرص لإلقاء كلمته فليتفضل.
Dear friend, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, I'm delighted to join Ursula and my colleagues here in Cairo, and I would like to thank you for your warm hospitality as always. It is a great honor to be part of such a historic day, a day that marks the launch of the strategic and comprehensive partnership between the European Union and the Arab Republic of Egypt. Thank you, Ursula, for leading the way and delivering this very important document. It is a day that stands for political commitment, cooperation and leadership. Cyprus is not only the closest geographically member state of the European Union to Egypt. Cyprus and Egypt share a deep, historic friendship that in recent years has become a true and deep strategic partnership anchored on solid foundations of true friendship. Fully cognizant of the critical role of Egypt as a pillar of stability in the region, Cyprus has long advocated for the development of a strategic partnership between the European Union and Egypt. And today, we are proud that we are witnessing its fruition. The joint declaration, signed a few moments ago, marks the beginning of a new era in European Union-Egypt relations. The broad scope and the strategic nature of the wide-ranging sectors identified in the declaration fully reflect Egypt's indispensable role in Europe's southeastern flank. Today, we take a substantial step towards making each other stronger in addressing common challenges and in harnessing the potential in our partnership, which is limitless and awaits to be further enhanced. Dear friends, with Egypt, we also share a common vision for a peaceful Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East. It is a vision President Sisi has been a key architect in consulting and implementing, demonstrating true leadership. Egypt plays a critical role in addressing numerous crises from Libya to Sudan, Palestine, and the Red Sea. Specifically in Gaza, Egypt and President Sisi has been exerting tremendous efforts to achieve a ceasefire, to prevent the conflict from spreading, to bring lasting peace, and to provide much-needed humanitarian relief for the civilians in Gaza. I want once again to publicly thank President Sisi for his country's tireless efforts in this respect. In the same context, I also want to underline yet again that the displacement of Gazans is unacceptable, and it also compromises the national security of neighbouring countries. Dear friends, we all agree that it is crucial that we deliver more aid to Gaza. To this end, since the start of the war, Cyprus has worked on providing supplementary options to the international community for the delivery of aid. Last week, Cyprus, joined by a number of partners, including the European Union, always under the leadership of Ursula, has established a safe humanitarian maritime corridor. I want to stress once again that this effort is of purely humanitarian nature and complementary to the existing routes and mechanisms already in place. In concluding, I wish to stress that Cyprus will continue working with its partners in the European Union to see this strategic partnership flourish, particularly with the objective of ensuring peace and stability, but also economic prosperity in the Mediterranean, the Middle East, the Red Sea, and the Horn of Africa. Thank you very much.
فخامة رئيس وزراء اليونان فليتفضل.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam President, dear colleagues. For those of us, as President Christodoulidis pointed out, that have been advocating for a long time a stronger and closer partnership between the European Union and Egypt, today is indeed a very, very special moment. The implementation of the comprehensive and strategic partnership with Egypt sets clear goals in terms of strengthening the relationship between the European Union and Egypt, and recognizes a very simple fact, that the stability and prosperity of Egypt is of critical importance to the European Union. And Greece will continue, as it has been, to be a steadfast supporter of Egypt's relations with the European Union, and to recognize the crucial role Egypt is called upon to play on numerous areas of common interest. This strategic partnership is signed in a time of great upheaval in the Middle East, and the topic was extensively discussed in our meetings, and we're all gravely concerned about the situation in Gaza, especially ahead of a possible ground invasion in Rafah, which, as the President of the Commission said, must be avoided at all costs. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is simply unacceptable. The situation demands an immediate ceasefire, the release of all hostages, and the opening of all avenues for humanitarian aid to alleviate the suffering of the innocent people of Gaza. And Egypt has a major role to play, and we're grateful for your responsible stance and efforts, Mr. President, facing this crisis whose consequences affect your country directly. And it is of paramount importance for the international community to act jointly to prevent a further destabilization of the wider region, and Greece, from its end, stands ready to contribute to any effort that will lead towards achieving regional stability. In that spirit, our country has assumed a leading role in the defensive EU operation Aspides in the Red Sea, with the aim of safeguarding freedom of navigation and protecting human life, an issue which is particularly important also for Egypt and the revenues it gets from the Suez Canal. And the collective EU effort, with the support of regional stakeholders such as Egypt, can contribute to a secure environment in that strategic maritime area. And we've also supported the launch of the Cypriot initiative for a maritime corridor as a complementary humanitarian route to that of the Rafah crossing. We've also had an opportunity to discuss issues related to migration in light of the current geopolitical challenges in the Middle East and North Africa, and we commend Egypt and its efforts in preventing flows from reaching the Mediterranean route by hosting a huge number of migrants and curbing the illegal trafficking routes and we've discussed that we must prevent the opening of new routes, and we will work very closely with Egypt to ensure that this goal will be achieved, and we will also work very closely with Egypt to ensure that we open up legal pathways to migration in order to offer more young Egyptians an opportunity to travel to Europe legally rather than possibly risking their lives on very treacherous journeys. Finally, we touched upon the future of our cooperation in energy, which bears great potential for both sides. Egypt has the potential of becoming a powerhouse regarding the production of electricity from the wind and the sun, and we reaffirmed our commitment to continue to advance projects such as the Greki interconnection between Egypt and Greece, which has recently been recognized as a project of mutual interest by the European Union. In closing, let me thank you again, President Sisi, for hosting today's historical meeting, and let me reiterate again that the European Union stands ready to stand by and assist Egypt in its biggest challenges.
Thank you. فخامة مستشار النمسا، تفضل.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Mr. President, dear Madam President, dear colleagues, I am delighted about today's visit here in Cairo, as it allowed us to continue our discussions from when I visited President al-Sisi in April 2023. And especially because today the partnership between the EU and Egypt is being taken to a new level. Thank you, Mr. President, for your hospitality and today's fruitful, trustful, constructive and open discussions. We started talks on a partnership that is beneficial for both sides already during my visit here in Cairo. The comprehensive Egypt agreement is an important step for Europe's security. Thank you to President von der Leyen for her leadership on this issue. Thank you very much. And in this agreement, there are many important areas which should be mentioned, from the economy and energy, such as green hydrogen, to cooperation between our nations in education and science, to migration. We see great potential for close cooperation with Egypt in the field of green hydrogen. We already discussed this last year, as well as in the area of the shortage of skilled labor in Europe. In Egypt, the population is growing every year, whereas population growth in most European countries is declining. Qualified workers from Egypt can therefore make an important contribution in Europe. As Austria is particularly affected by this, I would like to say a few words on the topic of migration, and thank you, President al-Sisi, for Egypt's efforts in hosting millions of refugees, for his efforts in the fight against illegal migration. The fight against irregular migration is top priority for us. I am convinced that we as EU must do everything we can to prevent illegal migration. In order to combat the root causes, we need sustainable cooperation. The support foreseen in the agreement for Egypt as a host country for a large number of refugees is effective, significant and important. And it's important for everyone, for the people who live here, for Egypt and for the EU. Security is not a one-way street. Security needs cooperation, needs partners. This is also the case in the fight against terror, another really important aspect of the agreement. Because terror is the enemy of the people. It stirs up fear and hatred, seeks to unsettle people and destroy societies. We must therefore oppose all forms of terrorism with all our strength. The fight against terror is more relevant than ever. Egypt is also a key partner of the EU in this respect. I'm very pleased that we have reached such a comprehensive agreement and that Austria was able to make its small contribution. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, dear Ursula and dear colleagues.
Thank you. سيدة رئيسة وزراء الجمهورية الإيطالية، تفضل.
Thank you very much. Where I fully agree with the words expressed by my colleagues and by Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the Commission, whom I want to thank for the work that she's been doing. We have achieved a very important goal today. President Sisi, thank you very much also for your hospitality. But I think that being here all together to sign this declaration means something very important. And it is the result of an intense and effective diplomatic work that all of us have engaged in over the past months. The joint declaration that Egypt and the European Union have adopted today is an important step towards the development of a true partnership able to address in an integrated manner all of the complex challenges of our times, from the regional ones, the development, and also illegal migration. And I want to take also this opportunity once again to express my appreciation for the diplomatic efforts that President Sisi is pursuing together with the United States, with Qatar, moreover in order to achieve a prolonged pause in hostilities in Gaza, leading to the release of the hostages and to a sustainable ceasefire. But it is also, I'm telling that also to say that I'm proud to announce that a memorandum of understanding with the Egyptian Ministry of Health was adopted today to strengthen bilateral collaboration in humanitarian assistance to wounded civilians arriving from Gaza. It is one additional piece of the wide-ranging humanitarian efforts that Italy has been putting in place since the outbreak of the conflict. We must continue to work hard to achieve a memorandum of understanding able to lay the foundation for a new, I would say, historic page of our relations, deepening our political dialogue, working together for our respective economies. And as all my colleagues said before me, it is also the best way to face the problem of the illegal migration, to fight human traffickers. The best way is to reaffirm the right of the citizens in the African continent not to emigrate towards Europe. And it is something that we can do only with development, and it is exactly what we are doing today. I want to express a note of satisfaction for the role that Italy played in this new model of cooperation between Europe and the southern shore of the Mediterranean, which has become a model that we already started with the Memorandum of Understanding in Tunisia. It is working. Within this European framework, as you know, Italy has also acted in a concrete manner through the Mattei Plan for Africa. Egypt is one of the countries identified in the plan, the priority countries, and it couldn't have been otherwise. That's why I'm also proud that during the course of this visit we adopted more than 10 memorandum, ranging from sustainable agriculture to financial support for small and medium-sized enterprises to infrastructural development and health. So I'm very satisfied with this important day, and I warmly want to thank Ursula, my colleagues, and President Sisi. Sì,